Exciting topic, choosing an AI agent framework. A quick disclaimer, this talk is definitely not about picking a specific framework. My goal is for you to leave with a thorough understanding of what to pay attention to. You will see a couple of framework names like you see on the screen, but promise this will be a minimum of that. Okay, a couple of words about me. I'm Victor Mali. I've been leading the AI platform team at Simple Club for a couple of years. I jumped on AI train in 2016 as the whole deep learning revolution started, kind of bringing together a wide range of experiences from different domains and areas. It makes a lot of fun to work on AI. So let's get started. Who of you actually experimented with AI agents? Raise your hand. I need to know that. A lot of you. But there's still some people for whom it would be useful to get a quick theory about what an AI agent is. An AI agent is an entity which is able to plan, execute, and observe on its own. The key word here is autonomously execute those actions. This is what the entire hype right now is about. And a lot of frameworks, if they didn't support AI agents in the past, they do support them right now. There are a lot of mistakes one can make when selecting their AI framework. Let's talk about them. The first one is prioritizing surface level features over actual framework architecture philosophy. What do I mean by that? It sounds a bit complicated, but believe me, it's a very widespread issue. You heard about some new framework released just yesterday. The feature set is amazing, like it has memory, it has human in the loop capabilities, everything you dreamed about. You immediately decide to build your next project based on it. This is not the best decision in the long term. Making framework decisions based on hype is obviously to avoid. That's why I tried to come up with archetypes for the framework, which are there right now on the market, helping you pick the right framework. Basically, there are 4 archetypes out there. If you're working with traditional document processing, you need to search over the documents. We're talking about this blue part, which is simple query engine. If you're there building quick demos, doing rapid prototyping, we are talking about this area. If this is about solving tasks with a high degree of unpredictability, you are in that area of collaborative multi-agent team. Actually, this is very helpful because by answering the question, where does your use case lay, like out of these 3 or 4 categories, you are able to eliminate like 75% of frameworks on the market. There are more than 100 right now. It's a crazy number. They keep appearing almost every day. So it narrows down your choice and your list of candidates is much simpler to process. But there is a second modality, very important one. This is the balance between control you get by using a certain framework versus development velocity. There are 3 categories. Again, this is my definition, and this is what I've observed by playing with some of them or using them in real production projects. When we are talking about high control, you as a developer, you have everything at your fingers. You're able to control precisely what kind of stuff is being done in your AI system. And usually you are using libraries or SDKs provided by model vendors directly if you're working with those. If you are in the market for demos or dealing with non-technical users, no-code or low-code solutions is kind of example falling into the last category. There are some names I promise, but the list is not definitive. In each category, there's probably 20 more. These are the most popular ones. Most of you don't need to think about where you are with your project. From my experience, from what I see in different teams, and also at Simple Club, we are in this middle category, more or less balanced, where we are trying to solve the problem of like, okay, this is more or less a linear problem. Yes, there is some degree of unpredictability, but at least we know what kind of task we are solving. And there's plenty of choice there in that category. You need to understand about control and velocity that you cannot have high control and high velocity at the same time. Yeah, there's always compromise. Try to really understand what kind of thing you're building, what's the use case, what kind of problem you are solving. Because it can be about conversational AI, retrieval, classification, multi-turn workflows, whatever. This is super important. This narrows down the choice significantly. How much control you require? This is exactly what we were talking about previously. If you are there with some specific or complex use cases, you need to have that control. You need to be clear of any abstractions introduced by the framework. Context management is a topic that is emerging and super popular right now. Not that many frameworks are managing it in the best way. When I'm talking about context management, this is either short-term memory, like in a conversation where you need to take into account what happened in that conversation, or some bigger stuff like multiple conversations your user had with your AI system. Some frameworks support that and some don't. If you're working on mission critical applications, you are there to look up human in the loop capabilities. If you're building something manually in your AI system and don't use any framework, you're free to implement human in the loop yourself, but there are some frameworks offering that. So ask yourself this question early. And of course, the last one, security governance, access control, secrets management, and super hot topic, guardrails, both for input and output. Very important to consider from the very beginning. I promised you LangChain, and with LangChain, there is a very interesting story. This is a kind of a negative pattern, what I'm trying to communicate here. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against LangChain or any other products they're offering. This is just a vibrant case of hype-driven adoption. I think 3 years ago, as AI hype emerged with a new intensity, LangChain offered a one-tool shop for everything, like over 30 integrations with different platforms, tools, agents, memory, and they kept adding stuff. Naturally, developers sold to thousands of GitHub stars, and everyone was hyped, thinking it would solve all their problems. But if you check Reddit, for example, a developer will be surprised by the number of development teams who ripped out everything related to LangChain after a few months. The hidden complexity of this framework was not what they were looking for. With 5 or 6 levels of abstraction, you kind of had control, but at the same time, no. And like truly understanding what happens inside was really hard. So they failed to deliver on the overhyped expectations. Don't get me wrong, they have amazing products, but only if you know what you're using them for, I would say so. Yeah. The second problem, I call it a day 2 problem. Imagine you have delivered an impressive demo. You got approval to put your project into production. And now comes the reality. Your AI system faces the real usage patterns, the real data users generating. At this stage, it's too late to think about observability, scalability, and maintenance, but nevertheless, let's take a look. What does it mean? This is, again, my theory, my categorization. They are really demo frameworks and the frameworks you can use in production. Maybe an exception on the left side is NA10, but this is the common struggle right now to understand, can you use NA10? It's super popular around the world. I cannot put it anywhere. Like if you have to do something with NA10, happy to talk about this. We tried to use it in production, actually. It didn't scale that well, okay? You want to achieve something really quickly, but in reality, it wouldn't work because of scalability issues. Points to think about in that regard is many of you who at least once tried to build something with AI agents will agree that observability is an absolute must-have requirement. If your candidate framework supports OpenTelemetry, it's already a good sign. Go for it. Without observability, you shouldn't even start any kind of AI development, especially with agents, because you need to have full information about all the inputs, all the outputs, all the tools, invocations, all decisions which were made, like everything, including token consumption, all the information you can imagine there. The second point is deployment. This is a surprising one, and I made this mistake with deployment multiple times. When I was super excited about the functionality, I had a short list of framework candidates. And then when time came to deploy that framework, I was surprised. There are multiple deployment options, but none of them is compatible with what I'm trying to do. And I'm not trying to do anything crazy. I just want to have my Docker container deployed to Google Cloud or something like this. It would be stupid to spend multiple weeks developing something, but then not being able to deploy it actually. So think about this at the very beginning. This is super important. How it's going to scale, traditionally you have 2 possibilities for scalability, vertical and horizontal. Partially it depends on the way the framework has been deployed. Partially it depends on the framework internal architecture. Really important to think about this. And those of you who work with agentic systems will agree that there is a lot of stuff going on there, like errors, and you need inbuilt mechanisms for error recovery, self-healing, and fallbacks. Some frameworks offer that, some not. Are you getting into vendor lock-in? Always the question you need to ask yourself. I would say a red flag to watch out for is, this is the situation where There are so specific abstractions to that vendor, and migrating all would mean rewriting everything from scratch, and nobody wants to be there. Finally, we have arrived to my favorite kind of mistake, and this is the choosing AI agent framework when you actually don't need one. Probably you will be surprised, but task completion rate for an AI agent, an average one across multiple domains and industries, is something like between 78%. I suspect this is because a lot of people are throwing those AI agents at problems which don't deserve to be solved by AI agents. That's why you need to really think carefully about, okay, are those agentic capabilities something which I really need? This three-step process is what could be helpful to you. If your AI application has a single LLM call, don't bother with any kind of AI framework. You don't need it. Just go ahead and make that call. If we're talking about multi-step workflows with some high degree of predictability, and you know there are certain steps inside, then a general framework is a good choice in this case. But pay attention, without any AI agents. This is important. And only in the case where you need truly autonomous decision-making capabilities, you need multiple entities or AI agents working on the same task, like deep research. If you know more or less how it works among the most popular vendors out there, I mean, OpenAI, Anthropic, and all other companies, yeah, they use multiple agents to do deep research. You might consider actually having AI agents inside of your AI system and pick the framework which explicitly supports them. Otherwise, you are just over-engineering stuff, and this is not a good long-term solution when you have so much complexity. Even those agents are really good. Don't overcomplicate stuff. This is a quick summary of what you are taking home today. These are the most important questions to ask when you are dealing with framework selection. Start with why you are automating something with an AI framework. Is this task really automatable in the first place? Would automate it? Does it need real-time adaptability? If yes, you might need AI agents. Avoid choices based on hype, because what works today may not work tomorrow or after some time. You are getting into a trap. This is proven by multiple teams. Not having any framework is also a valid option if your system is capable of achieving the goal, like solving a certain task without any complex interactions. It doesn't need any framework or AI agents. Again, I will repeat the caution about deployment, production capabilities, observability, scaling. This is all day zero considerations for you. And also what you will experience at the very end, most likely, your final solution will not be purely agentic or purely workflow based without agents. It's almost always a combination of both. For example, let's take a document processing workflow where you have a mechanism for uploading documents, scanning them, extracting information from those documents. And this part would represent a classical framework without any AI agents involvement. But at the end, you would probably need an agent to make certain decisions based on the extracted information. And this represents a hybrid solution. And I think most solutions right now are hybrid. I hope you learned something from this. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.